We want now to get back to our top story this morning, and of course it has everything to do with how Kenyans are reacting to that 707% increase of pensional benefits. And of course we have our Twitter poll, which we are asking you this morning if you think one-term MPs deserve a pension increment, the one that I'm talking about. Now this particular one, this burden of supporting Kenya's retired public servants is said to of course be heavier on taxpayers, with one-term members of parliament, like I mentioned, going home with at least 18.8 million shillings. All right, let's just take a look at some graphics before we get into the discussion that we have in studio for you. And right, so like I mentioned, the country is set to see another increment of about 700% in MPs' pension, even as other retired civil servants get a boost and a modest increase. Now, the civil servants are set to get a 12.6% increase, which is projected to see their pension increase to 26 billion shillings, up from 23.7 billion shillings. Now, the pension for the military will be increased by 16% to stand at 7.35 billion shillings from 6.45 billion shillings. Pension to widows and children of the military officers will see an 81% increase to stand at 852 million from 472 million shillings. All right, but of course the biggest question that Kenyans really are asking is that heavier load that's going to be onto them. That is a 707% increase when it comes to pensional benefits. And I want to introduce my guest here in studio this morning, Jarvis Bigambo. He's a governance expert. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
All right, so are you as shocked as many Kenyans were with this proposal to have this increase?
I would lie if I would say that I am shocked, but I cannot contain my displeasure just as much as many Kenyans. I say I'm not shocked because it's nearly a tradition that nearly every term we see members of parliament coming up with such interesting proposals that are a chagrin to my fellow citizens. Now look, just before election, in July last year, you remember the Sarah Serem Commission?
Yes.
And on 10th July, when she made a proposal of such kind of stuff never happening in our country, it was greeted with displeasure from the part of members of the National Assembly and the senators, etc. And I remember after election, we had the Kiambu women rep, Wamushomba, trying to demonstrate that such salaries are meager and they need to be increased.
They're honorable.
And you remember how her constituents reacted. That is the feeling and the sentiment of Kenyans across all the counties. When you see this kind of proposal and there is no evidence that our economy has grown to double digits, and when we live in times such as this, when it is evident to any observer that we have got drainage problems in this country, we are seeing flooding problems in this country, we are seeing lecturers demanding pay rise, and nobody has spoken about it critically, in response to which and the claim has been that the country is broke, there is no money. When teachers demand for pay raise and then the government asserts firmly that there is no money to pay them, and we see that parliamentarians want to have a 707 pay hike, pension, hike. Actually, there is senselessness in that. You see, when we embraced this Constitution of Kenya 2010 upon the promulgation and said that we can have our power demonstrated or exercised directly or indirectly through our representatives. We did not mean that we should have our representatives go demonstrate their selfishness and enrichment. And it must not be construed at any time, any day, that holding political office is a sure path, a swift path to enrichment and having hefty packs on the backs of my fellow citizens through heavy taxes. When you look at the feeling, by Mama Mbogas, whether you look at it from the coast, whether it is in Rumuruti areas, when you go to Western, etc., you realize that every person is struggling. Just 2 days ago, it was contained in our dailies, close to 3 pages of fellows being auctioned. It tells you the state of our economy. If our economy is this sickening, and then we see this kind of proposal, I think there is a wisdom in saying that our members of parliament have removed themselves from the realities of our times.
But how come? And a few months ago they were, in the rallies, in our villages, in our houses, on TV, saying that we will do this and this and this. Is it about when they get into parliament then they become different people? Because the people who come to us asking for votes are very different kind of people.
There has been a claim over time that their constituents come to them for money, for funerals, etc., school fees, and other issues. We have got the national government, CDF. We have got a bursary fund with county governments, etc. So they cannot say that continually people are coming to them for school fees. Much as I know that people still will go up to them for handouts, etc. But it's them also who quickly do that for purposes of buying their support.
Right.
There must be no excuse by our elected representatives to tell us that they need more money in their personal pockets because they are meeting the needs of their constituents.
And mind you, this is after they've actually left the job. This is after they,
Exactly. You see, it is very sad that after you lost, when your constituents demonstrated their displeasure in your services, which means you are incompetent. They threw you out.
They kick
and
you
then
out.
Now you want to be compensated properly for having been thrown out. You want to be compensated for your incompetence. What hogwash, Betty?
All right. I think I'm as angry as you are, Javas. We'll come back to the discussion in a few short minutes, but I also want to hear your thoughts on this, on our topic this morning. We want to hear your reaction, really, to one-term members of parliament saying that they deserve a pension increment of up to 1.8 billion shillings. We want to hear your thoughts on this. So this means that every MP who leaves office will go home with about 18.8 million shillings. Let me hear your thoughts on this one. Hashtag is KTN News Center. And of course, you can tweet me at Betty M. Kialo. Let's take a short commercial break. And even as we take that break, let's just show you the traffic situation. The traffic situation in the city center, specifically Kenyatta Avenue. Let's just get those pictures if we do have them.